What if a betrayal is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your reign? The deepest treachery doesn't have to break you. It can be the very event that teaches you how to become unbreakable. These are the strategic moves to achieve that power. 7 Strategic Moves to Crush Betrayal, Stoicism, compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Silent Armor Against Treachery. Imagine a wise king holding court, surrounded by his trusted advisors. Suddenly, a trusted guard lunges forward with a hidden dagger. In that first shocking moment of treachery, the king's immediate action is not to lunge back or to scream in rage. His first move is a reflex born of discipline. His other royal guards instantly form a silent, interlocking shield wall around him. They do not attack, they do not shout. They create a space of absolute temporary safety. Their silence is a fortress. This is the inner conflict we face in the first brutal moments of discovering a betrayal. Our mind is flooded with a tidal wave of shock, pain, and white-hot rage. Our instincts scream at us to do something, to confront, to accuse, to lash out, to seek immediate answers. The problem is that any action taken while drowning in this initial emotional flood is almost guaranteed to be a mistake. We say things we can never take back. We make ourselves look weak and out of control, and we often give the person who betrayed us even more ammunition to use against us. We act from the wound, not from our strength, and in doing so, we inflict even greater harm upon ourselves. The first, most critical strategic move is to emulate the royal guards and immediately put on your silent armor against treachery. This is the unbreakable habit of meeting the initial shock of betrayal with disciplined, strategic silence. It is not about suppressing your emotion. It is about containing it, refusing to act on it until your rational mind, your inner king, is safe behind the shield wall and ready to think clearly. The core Stoic principle here is that the time to decide how to respond to a catastrophe is not in the middle of the earthquake. The initial moments after a betrayal are a state of temporary madness, as Seneca would say. A Stoic warrior knows that his first duty is to prevent himself from making a bad situation worse. His silence is not passivity. It is a profound act of self-control and strategic wisdom. It is the conscious decision to create a sacred space between the wound and the world, giving himself time to regain his composure and his reason. To master this first defensive move, you must drill it into your very being. The first actionable step is to make a solemn vow to yourself now, while you are calm. The next time I am faced with a profound shock or betrayal, my first move will be absolute silence. This pre-commitment is crucial. The second step is to have an exit strategy. The moment you receive the wound, your immediate goal is to physically remove yourself from the situation if possible. You do not need to give a long explanation. A simple, "I need some time to process this," or "I cannot continue this conversation right now," is all that is required. Then, walk away. Create physical distance to support your mental silence. The third step, once you are alone, is to focus only on your breath. Do not replay the event. Do not start planning your revenge. Just breathe. Focus on the physical sensation of the air entering and leaving your body until the initial violent wave of emotion begins to subside. This is your emergency protocol to prevent the flood. The benefits of deploying your silent armor are immense. You will prevent yourself from making the catastrophic, irreversible mistakes that are born from shock and rage. You will preserve your dignity, refusing to give the person who hurt you the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. Most importantly, you will seize control of the one thing you can control in that moment: your own response. You become the king who, in the moment of attack, is immediately protected by his disciplined guards, giving him the safety he needs to assess the battle and plan his victorious countermove. Your practice is to commit to this rule. Silently promise yourself that you will meet the next unexpected shock in your life, not with words, but with breath and with a strategic retreat to the safety of your own silence. Once the shield wall is up and the king is safe, the next strategic move is to understand the nature of the attack and the attacker. To win the war, you must have flawless intelligence. Next, we will learn how to read the hidden motives of the betrayer with piercing clarity, To continue this journey, please like this video and subscribe to Stoic Dominion. Lesson 2. Read hidden motives. Clearly, imagine the king, now safe behind the shield wall of his silence. His initial shock is passing. An unskilled king would now consume himself with thoughts of the traitor's dagger. He would obsess over the pain of the wound itself. The wise king, however, does something far more strategic. He turns his attention away from his own wound and focuses entirely on the traitor. He does not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" He asks, "What flaw in this person's character made this action not only possible but inevitable?" He seeks not to understand the event from his own emotional perspective, but to understand the fundamental nature of the person who committed it. This is the inner conflict we face after the initial shock. We tend to personalize the betrayal. We make it about us. What did I do to deserve this? How could they do this to me? We see the betrayal as a reflection of our own worth or our own failure. The problem is that this self-focused perspective is a strategic dead end. It keeps us trapped in a cycle of self-blame and grief. More dangerously, it prevents us from seeing the other person with the cold, hard clarity that is now required. By focusing on our own pain, we fail to gather the critical intelligence we need to protect ourselves in the future. The second strategic move is to become a master intelligence officer of the human soul, to learn to read the hidden motives clearly. This is the practice of analyzing the betrayal not as a personal wound, but as a perfect and undeniable revelation of the other person's character. The core Stoic idea here is that people do not act against their own nature. A person of virtue, someone who is honest, just, and self-controlled, is incapable of true treachery. Therefore, if someone has betrayed you, they have not had a momentary lapse. They have simply revealed their true, flawed character to you. The betrayal is a gift of information. It is a diagnostic test that has given you a conclusive result. A Stoic king does not lament the result. He is grateful for the clarity it provides. He sees that the betrayal was never truly about him. It was an inevitable consequence of the other person's own weakness, fear, or vice. To achieve this level of diagnostic clarity, you must approach the situation like a profiler, not a victim. The first actionable step is to conduct a character review. Look back at the person's past behavior, not just with you, but with others. Were there other, smaller instances of dishonesty, of selfishness, of a lack of accountability? See the betrayal not as an isolated event, but as the culmination of a long-established pattern of character. The second step is to identify the underlying flaw. What is the root weakness that drove their action? Was it greed? Cowardice? Envy? A desperate need for validation? By identifying the specific flaw, you depersonalize the action. They didn't do it because of you, they did it because they are a coward or they are greedy. The third step is to accept the diagnosis. You must accept with finality that this is who they are. Do not indulge in the fantasy that they will change or that this was a one-time mistake. The evidence is in. The diagnosis is conclusive. Accept it. The benefits of this clear-eyed analysis are immense. It completely removes the burden of self-blame and confusion. The event is no longer a reflection of your worth, but a simple reflection of their character. This allows you to move out of a state of grief and into a state of calm, rational assessment. It provides you with the undeniable justification you need for the hard decisions you will have to make next. You become the wise king who, after an assassination attempt, spends his time studying the assassin's motives and network, not crying about his own misfortune. This intelligence is what will allow him to secure his kingdom permanently. Your practice for this lesson is to write down the name of the person who betrayed you. Then, next to their name, write down the primary character flaw that you can now see was the true source of their action. Reading the motives of others gives you clarity, but that clarity is useless if your own internal kingdom is in turmoil. The king's power comes from the strength of his own fortress. Next, we will learn how to cultivate an unshakable inner fortress. To join us on this path to invulnerability, please like this video and subscribe. Lesson 3. Cultivate unshakable inner fortress. Imagine a king whose entire sense of security rests upon the loyalty of his subjects and the strength of his external alliances. His peace is a fragile thing, utterly dependent on the goodwill of others. If his allies turn against him or his people rebel, as the betrayal has shown they can, his entire kingdom collapses and he is left with nothing. This is the inner conflict of a person whose sense of safety is externalized. We build our emotional home in the hearts of other people. We rely on their love, their approval, and their loyalty for our own sense of peace and security. The problem with this strategy is that you are building your house on someone else's land. You have no control over it. When they betray that trust, it feels like more than just a wound. It feels like you have become homeless. The very foundation of your world has been shattered, leaving you exposed, terrified, and with no safe place to retreat. This is why betrayal is so devastating. It is an attack that leaves us feeling emotionally shelterless. The third and most important strategic move is to stop trying to live on someone else's land and to cultivate your own unshakable inner fortress. This is the great work of all Stoic philosophy. It is the understanding that the only truly safe place to live is within the walls of your own mind, the kingdom whose peace you and only you can control. The core Stoic idea is that of the inner citadel. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, constantly reminded himself that he could retire into this inner fortress at any moment to find perfect peace, regardless of the chaos reigning in the Roman Empire outside. This citadel is built from your reason, your principles, and your disciplined mind. Its walls are impenetrable to external events. A betrayal can destroy your external circumstances, but it cannot touch the king who resides peacefully within his own inner citadel. Building this fortress is the ultimate act of self-reliance. It is the decision to become your own safe harbor. The construction of this fortress is a lifelong project, but it begins with daily, disciplined practices. The first actionable step is the practice of daily philosophical meditation. Spend 10 minutes each morning in silence, contemplating a single Stoic principle. You might reflect on the temporary nature of all things, or the difference between what is in your control and what is not. This practice is like mixing the mortar for your walls. The second step is to build your treasury of wisdom. Read the great Stoic texts. Fill your mind with the wisdom of those who have endured hardship with grace. This wisdom becomes the wealth stored within your fortress, a resource you can draw upon in any crisis. The third step is to practice self-sufficiency in small ways. Learn to solve your own problems without immediately asking for help. Learn to comfort your own anxieties without immediately seeking reassurance. Each small act of self-reliance is another stone laid in the wall of your fortress. The benefits of building this inner fortress are the attainment of a truly unbreakable form of security. You will no longer live in fear of being emotionally homeless because you will have built your own home within yourself. The actions of others will lose their power to devastate you. This will allow you to engage with people more freely and lovingly, because you will be doing so from a place of strength and wholeness, not from a place of need. You become the king who is serene and powerful, not because his lands are vast, but because his personal fortress is impregnable. His peace comes from his own architecture, not from the shifting allegiances of the world. Your practice for this week is to find one quote from a Stoic philosopher that resonates with you. Write it down, read it every morning. This is the cornerstone of your new fortress. A strong fortress is the ultimate defense. But to be its master, you must be able to command your own emotions within its walls, detaching from the chaos of the initial attack. Next, we will master the art of instant emotional detachment. Please comment below with your favorite Stoic quote to inspire our community. Lesson 4. Master emotional detachment instantly. Imagine a grandmaster playing a game of chess. His opponent makes a shocking, aggressive move, sacrificing a major piece in a bold gambit. The amateur player would be rattled. He would be overwhelmed by the emotional impact of the move, the shock, the fear, the sudden confusion. He would react to the emotional story of the move. The grandmaster, however, experiences something different. He sees the shocking move, he acknowledges the surge of adrenaline, but he instantly detaches from the emotional story. He does not see a shocking or aggressive move. He sees only what is objectively there. A piece has moved from one square to another, and the geometry of the board has changed. It is this profound emotional detachment that allows him to see the situation with perfect, cold clarity and to calculate the winning counter move. This is the inner conflict that prevents us from thinking clearly after a betrayal. We are not just dealing with the event, we are drowning in the emotional story we are telling ourselves about the event. This is a catastrophe. My life is over. I will never trust anyone again. The problem is that this emotional narrative acts like a thick fog, making it impossible to see the chessboard clearly. We are so consumed by our own story of pain that we cannot make a single rational strategic decision. The fourth strategic move is to become the grandmaster of your own mind, to learn how to master emotional detachment instantly. This is the practice of separating the objective facts of the betrayal from your subjective emotional reaction to it. The core Stoic principle here is that of objective representation, or fantasia cataleptica. It is the discipline of seeing the world as it is, without the layer of emotional judgment we typically add to it. A betrayal is a powerful trigger for these judgments. A Stoic warrior trains himself to intercept these judgments at the gate. He sees the betrayal and consciously chooses to view it not as a terrible tragedy, but simply as new information. He understands that the act itself is external and neutral. It is his own judgment about the act that is causing his suffering. By mastering the art of withholding that judgment, even for a few moments, he can maintain the cold clarity he needs to navigate the situation with power and grace. To achieve this grandmaster-level detachment, you must drill a specific mental protocol. The first actionable step is to, in the moment you are replaying the betrayal in your mind, describe it to yourself in the most boring, neutral, and objective language possible. Instead of, "She cheated on me with my best friend," you would practice thinking, "The person I was in a relationship with engaged in intimate activity with another person. This is new information." This sounds robotic, but is a powerful technique for stripping the emotional charge from the event. The second step is to question your emotional story. When your mind says, "My life is over," you must challenge it like a lawyer. Is that statement factually true, or is it an exaggeration born of pain? What is a more rational assessment? The third step is to focus on the practical, not the emotional. Shift your thinking from, "How could they do this to me?" to, "What are the practical next steps I need to take to protect my interests and my peace?" This moves you from the emotional brain to the problem-solving brain. The benefits of mastering this detachment are a profound sense of clarity and control in the midst of the most painful situations. You will stop yourself from being drowned by the tidal wave of emotion that follows a betrayal. This will allow you to make wise, rational decisions about your future at a time when most people are making disastrous emotional ones. You will find that the pain, while still present, no longer has the power to completely define your reality. You become the chess grandmaster who, because of his emotional detachment, can see the board with perfect clarity and can always find the winning move, even from a position of apparent weakness. Your practice is to take the factual statement of the betrayal you wrote down in Lesson 1, read it over, and then deliberately observe the emotional story your mind tries to attach to it. See them as two separate things, the fact and the story. This is the beginning of detachment. Detachment gives us the clarity to see the board. But a true strategist knows that even a disastrous move by an opponent can be turned into an advantage. A king does not just defend, he counters. Next, we will learn how to turn the poison of betrayal into the fuel of your own power. Please like this video to support our community of Stoic strategists. Lesson 5. Turn betrayal into power. Imagine a master blacksmith whose finest sword has been shattered in battle. He is left with nothing but the broken shards. A lesser man would see this as a total loss, a tragedy. But the master smith sees it differently. He knows that the steel in those shards has been tested in the fires of combat. He gathers the broken pieces and brings them to his forge. He melts them down in a fire hotter than any they have known. He hammers them with a new and more powerful intention, and he folds the steel again and again, burning out impurities that he didn't even know were there. He forges a new weapon, one that is stronger, sharper, and more perfectly balanced than the original. He has not just repaired the sword, he has used the fact of its breaking to make it better. This is the inner conflict we face when dealing with the wreckage of a betrayal. We see the broken pieces of our trust, our plans, and our heart. And we see only loss. We are consumed by the pain of what has been shattered. The problem is that this mindset keeps us focused on the past, on the brokenness. It traps us in a state of victimhood and prevents us from seeing the incredible opportunity that has just been presented to us. We are the smith who is crying over the broken shards, forgetting that he is standing in front of a forge. The fifth and most powerful strategic move is to become the master blacksmith, to learn to turn betrayal into power. This is the ultimate Stoic alchemy. It is the refusal to accept that any event, no matter how painful, can be purely negative. The core principle here is that adversity is the greatest catalyst for growth. The Stoics believed that every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue. A betrayal, in this light, is the ultimate opportunity. It is a fire hot enough to burn away your naivete, your weaknesses, and your attachments. It is a hammer blow, forceful enough to reveal the true quality of your own character. A Stoic king does not just survive a betrayal, he leverages it. He uses its immense, painful energy as the fuel to forge himself into a wiser, stronger, and more self-reliant version of himself. He decides that the worst thing that ever happened to him will become the best thing that ever happened for him. To begin this alchemical process, you must see yourself as the smith and the pain as the fire. The first actionable step is to ask the transformative question: what did this betrayal make possible? Did it free you from a toxic relationship you should have left long ago? Did it reveal a deep-seated insecurity in yourself that you now have the opportunity to heal? Did it force you to become more independent and resilient? Look for the doors that were opened by this event. The second step is to dedicate your energy to your own reforging. Channel the pain, the anger, the grief, not into revenge, but into radical self-improvement. Use it to fuel your workouts, to excel in your career, to learn a new skill. Make your own success and growth the ultimate consequence of their treachery. The third step is to consciously cultivate the virtue that the betrayal demands. If you were betrayed because you were too trusting, your work is to cultivate prudent discernment. If you were betrayed because of your own weakness, your work is to build discipline. The betrayal has shown you the curriculum for your own growth. The benefits of this approach are that you will emerge from the fire not just healed, but transformed. You will have taken the most destructive event imaginable and turned it into the cornerstone of your new strength. The scar will become a symbol of your power overcome. This will give you an unshakable confidence, the confidence of a man who knows he can profit from any adversity. You are no longer defined by the wound. You are defined by the incredible strength you forged from it. You become the king who carries the legendary sword, famous not because it never broke, but because it was reforged in the hottest fires and is now truly unbreakable. Your practice is to identify one positive change that this betrayal has made possible in your life, no matter how small. Write it down and focus on it. When you have forged yourself anew, your standards for who you allow into your kingdom become higher than ever. The betrayal has taught you the importance of strong walls. Next, we will learn how to build your new boundaries with steel resolve. Please subscribe to Stoic Dominion to continue your transformation. Lesson 6. Build boundaries with steel. Resolve. Imagine the king, his inner world now fortified and his own character reforged. He turns his attention to the gates of his kingdom. He knows that the previous betrayal occurred because his borders were not secure enough. They were based on trust and goodwill, not on the hard reality of human nature. He now understands that a kingdom's peace depends on its walls. He does not build a new wall of flimsy wood or loose stone. He commands his blacksmiths to forge a new gate of solid iron and to set new laws with steel resolve. He is not doing this out of anger or fear. He is doing it out of the wisdom born from his wound. He knows that clear, strong, and unyielding boundaries are not an act of aggression, but an act of profound self-preservation. This is the inner conflict we face after we have been hurt. We may know we need to set boundaries with the person who betrayed us or with new people in our lives, but we are tempted to make them soft and negotiable. We don't want to seem too harsh or unforgiving. The problem is that a soft boundary is not a boundary at all. It is a suggestion. A person who has already demonstrated a willingness to betray your trust will not be deterred by a weak fence. They will test it, push against it, and eventually they will breach it again. To prevent future betrayals, your new boundaries must be as hard and as unyielding as iron. The sixth strategic move is to build boundaries with steel resolve. This is the practice of setting and enforcing your new limits with a calm, non-emotional, and absolute finality. The core Stoic principle here is that a wise person learns from experience. The betrayal was an expensive, painful lesson. The lesson is that this particular person has proven themselves untrustworthy, or that you have been too permissive in the past. To ignore this lesson and to set weak, negotiable boundaries would be an act of profound foolishness. A Stoic king is not a fool. He understands that his primary duty is to protect the peace and integrity of his kingdom, his own mind, and his own life. His new, steel-hard boundaries are not a sign that he has become cold or cruel. They are a sign that he has become wise. They are the practical application of the painful knowledge he has acquired. To forge these boundaries of steel, you must be resolute. The first actionable step is to define your non-negotiables. Based on the wisdom you gained from the betrayal, what are the new, absolute rules for your relationships? I will not tolerate dishonesty. I will not be involved with someone who is not loyal. I will not ignore my own intuition again. These must be bright, clear lines. The second step is to communicate your boundary, if necessary, one time with simple, clear, and final language. There is no debate. There is no negotiation. Because of your past actions, I am no longer able to have you in my life. Or my boundary is that our communication will now be limited to matters concerning X. I will not discuss anything else. The third and most important step is absolute enforcement. You must be prepared to hold this line forever, without exception. Your resolve must be made of steel. Any wavering signals that the gate can still be breached. The benefits of building these steel-hard boundaries are true, lasting security. You will ensure that you are never harmed in the same way by the same person again. You will create a life for yourself that is populated only by people who have earned your trust through their consistent, virtuous actions. You will develop an immense sense of your own power and self-respect, the feeling of a king who is the absolute master of his own domain. You become the king whose fortress is now so secure, whose laws are so clear, and whose resolve is so strong that no traitor would ever dare to test his gates again. Your practice is to identify one new, non-negotiable boundary that you must now implement in your life as a result of the betrayal. Write it down as an iron law. When you have reforged your strength and secured your kingdom, there is only one final move. It is not a move of aggression or revenge, but one of supreme, kingly grace. In our final lesson, we will learn how to walk away with your crown held high. To complete your journey to sovereignty, please subscribe to our channel. Lesson 7. Walk away with Stoic grace. Imagine the king, having survived the treachery, having rebuilt his fortress, and having forged a new sword from the broken pieces. He now stands on his battlements and looks out at the world. He no longer looks at the past with bitterness or at the future with fear. He has done the work. His kingdom is secure. His final act is one of ultimate power and freedom. He turns his back on the drama of the past, on the memory of the traitor, and on the need for any further engagement. He walks away, not in defeat, but in serene, triumphant victory. He walks away to focus on the peaceful and prosperous reign of his own inner kingdom. This is the final and most liberating strategic move. The inner conflict, even after all our work, can be a lingering attachment to the story. We can become defined by our survival of the betrayal. We continue to tell the story, to think about the injustice, to check on the person who hurt us. The problem is that as long as we are still engaged, even in our own minds, we are not truly free. We are still allowing the betrayer to occupy a piece of our most valuable territory, our own attention. The final move is to evict them completely and walk away with the grace of a king who has more important things to do. The seventh strategic move is to walk away with Stoic grace. This is the embodiment of true victory. It is the understanding that you have already crushed the betrayal, not by destroying the other person, but by destroying their power over you. The core Stoic idea here is that the ultimate revenge is a life well lived. Your continued success, your unshakable peace, and your profound indifference to the person who wronged you is the most powerful statement you can ever make. A Stoic king does not concern himself with the fate of traitors. He is too busy ruling his own prosperous kingdom. Walking away is the final act of detachment. It is the declaration that you have extracted all the wisdom you can from the event, and now it is nothing more than a closed chapter in your history. It no longer deserves your time or your energy. To execute this final graceful move, you must embody the spirit of the forward-looking king. The first actionable step is to practice forgiveness, not for them, but for you. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is not about condoning their action. It is the rational decision to release the poison of resentment from your own mind so that you can be free. It is a pragmatic act of self-liberation. The second step is to consciously and aggressively pivot your focus to your own future. Pour all the energy you once spent thinking about the betrayal into your own purpose, your own sacred fire. Let your mission become so bright and compelling that it casts the shadow of the past into oblivion. The third step is to cultivate a spirit of gratitude for the life you have now, a life that was made stronger and wiser by the very wound you endured. Be thankful for the strength you built and the clarity you gained. The benefits of walking away with grace are the achievement of true, lasting peace and freedom. The betrayal ceases to be a defining event in your life and becomes just one of many lessons you learned on your journey to wisdom. You will be completely free from the chains of bitterness and resentment, which are the heaviest chains of all. You will move into your future with a light heart and an unburdened mind, ready for new and better things. You become the king who is remembered not for the betrayals he suffered, but for the magnificent and peaceful kingdom he built in their aftermath. His grace is ultimate victory. Your final practice is to look to the future. Write down one exciting goal you have for yourself that has nothing to do with the past. Place all of your powerful, focused attention on that. Walk away. To crush betrayal is not to destroy the person who wronged you, but to alchemize their treachery into your own foundation of power. It is to use their poison as the antidote, their attack as the plans for your own unbreachable and serene inner fortress. Thank you for your dedication to this most difficult, but most rewarding of inner transformations. The ability to turn the deepest wound into the greatest wisdom is the mark of a true Stoic king. If this guide has provided you with value, please like the video, comment with the lesson that was most powerful for you, and subscribe to Stoic Dominion for more strategies on building an unshakable life.